It's now 9 minutes after 7. It's been revealed this morning that the Director General of Health wanted to open Auckland's border as soon as the country moved into the COVID protection framework. In other words, the border would be open now. In a written affidavit to the Waitangi Tribunal, Dr Ashley Bloomfield says there was no public health justification to maintain the boundary, but vaccination rates were a concern. The Prime Minister decided to take a far more cautious stance on the issue. National Party leader Christopher Luxon, leader of the opposition, is with us this morning. Good morning. Cautious is Jacinda Ardern's middle name. It's not hurting her in the polls, is it?
Well, look, what I'd say to you is, we've followed public health advice by and large through this whole pandemic, and it is really unusual that the Prime Minister hasn't listened to Ashley Bloomfield, because if the public health advice is that, frankly, Auckland doesn't need a border because we've got very high vaccination rates, I can tell you now, Aucklanders, having been an Auckland-based MP, having been in lockdown, having seen people up close and personal around their businesses, their mental health, we basically need, I think that border should be released, and I'd just encourage the Prime Minister to release it tonight.
Do you want the Prime Minister to open the border tonight?
Absolutely, because if the public health advice is saying that the border's not needed, we've got Ashley Bloomfield telling us we've got very high levels of vaccination. We're well over 90%. We should be able to. What's the justification for it? And I guess that was my challenging questions on Friday. And again, I got two questions in the House yesterday around that, which is the criteria is established that Auckland should be in red because we've got an overwhelmed hospital system.
But we also have low vaccination rates.
Saying it's
Chris, we've also got low vaccination rates, right?
Yeah, but the Prime Minister, by her own admission, has been saying the hospital system is fine, the healthcare system is coping well. She's also saying that Auckland has some of the highest vaccination rates on planet Earth. And so the justification for the criteria as it was set up in the traffic light system was fundamentally say we go to red when the hospital system is really, really fundamentally overwhelmed. That's just not the case. So the question is, how is the Prime Minister making these decisions? Because, if there's published criteria about what makes red, orange, green, and then fundamentally it's not being followed. And then you hear about advice from Ashley Bloomfield saying, actually, Auckland's good to go given the vaccination rates, and there is not a public health need for the border.
What about the 67% of Māori vaccinated, well, the balance, I suppose, who aren't in Northland? You're not worried about them?
Well, what I'd say to you is, well, firstly, you're going to have a high level of vaccinated Aucklanders moving, north and south of Auckland. If Ashley Bloomfield says we don't need a border, and that's the public health advice, we should listen to that. What I'd say on Māori vaccination rates is that, the government spent $120 million and actually to do two things. One, to get vaccination rates up, and it's great to see that they're increasing, but they frankly, did it. They tried to do it all centrally from Wellington rather than actually properly engaging the community. The second thing is some of that money is supposed to be designed to deal with a response to COVID in those communities as well. And so, they need to empower the people on the ground and the Māori community organisations to be able to go full bore on getting vaccination rates up. And I'd just say, frankly, to any of your viewers, if you're not vaccinated, go get vaccinated. I think, everybody understands there's a personal responsibility to do so that we can be free and we can get into summer.
You've had your first sparring session with Jacinda Ardern in the House. Let's take a quick look at some of the highlights.
Does she agree with?
I reject that question.
Oh, it was a little bit awkward. What happened, Chris? Did you just lose your place?
Oh, mate. I loved it yesterday. I was really excited because it's actually quite a different feeling when you get down in the House, versus what you often see on TV. But what happened there was, yes, made a stumble. I had a number of questions. The Prime Minister answered the question in the way that I wanted, and I couldn't find the question that I had thought I wanted to follow that up with. But look, it was my first go. I'll get better. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's quite an electric atmosphere down there, actually, when you're in there.
Yeah, it is
and
exciting.
I came out of it just saying, gee, I want to do it all again.
But the thing is...
Sorry?
It's an exciting place to be. It's an exciting place to go and watch. The thing
it is.
The thing that you've got to counter, though, is this I reject the question. I mean, how do you reject a question? I mean, she's basically saying what you're saying to the people is a lie.
Yeah, well, it is really challenging, and because there are a lot of rules and protocols about the types of questions you can ask, how you phrase them. As an opposition member, what you're actually doing in question time is, remember, there's two parts to opposition: oppose and propose. This is very much the oppose part, and the Speaker, as you know, holds a pretty tight rein on the rules and protocols in that place. But look, what I was really impressed about yesterday was, as I said, person on person, line up our top team against the government's team and start to ask yourself the question, who do you want as minister, and do we look like an alternative government in waiting? And we've started that process, we've started that journey. It's been 7 days into the new job.
Are you saying you won that showdown? Do you think you won that showdown yesterday?
No, what I'm saying is that I think when you look at our team and you look at the performance of, Nicola Willis and Simon Bridges and Shane Retty and Chris Bishop, I thought we were, looking really on song, joined up and focused as a team. And frankly, as I've talked right from the beginning 7 days ago, it's a hard reset. We're going to go forward very positively. National's back, and I want us to be opposing strongly, but I want us ultimately to be proposing ideas in the coming year too.
All right. What's your issue with the police checkpoints at the Auckland-Northland border? What exactly is it that you think is wrong?
Well, first and foremost, the conversation we just had earlier about, is there actually a need for a border? The second issue I'd say to you is that we're taking 300 frontline police at a time when we have, rising crime across the country, out of, the South Island over a summer period where they should be, dealing with crime issues across that period of time in order to come up to Auckland to police a border that, again, is a lot of ambiguity. How long is it going to take to get through there? How many checkpoints are going to be done? And the Prime Minister will say, it's just operational detail for the police. But actually, that's been her proposal, and we need to understand the detail.
But have you read
the border question is,
have you read the police have actually told us? Have you read what the police have said? They've answered those questions.
In what sense, sorry?
Well, they've told us. They've told us how many checkpoints there'll be. They've told us whether they'll be random. They've told us whether you will have to wait in your car for a long time or not. Did you know that?
Yes, I do, but what I want to say is that that's going to be an incredibly frustrating process for Aucklanders trying to get out of Auckland into Northland. It's also a frustration for, frankly, tourism operators sitting in Northland who've been waiting and need that business from Auckland to protect their livelihoods. And so, the bottom line for me is we're taking 300 police from fighting crime and we're putting them on the beat to manage a border. And I just think that's going to be quite a torturous process.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with that, isn't it? Hey, just before we go, I wondered if you had a highlight and a low point from the year. We've been asking all our politicians this week. Your high point, your peak and your pit.
Yeah, well, I think the highlight for me was, fundamentally, taking on the leadership of the National Party. It's a big job. There's a lot of work to do to build back trust with the New Zealand people, but we're up for it. We're fired up, ready to go, and to take it forward. And low point for me, I think just the disruption and the inconvenience I saw with people as an electorate MP. To be honest, I saw people doing it incredibly hard. I saw business owners struggling with mental health, suicide. I saw old people feeling really lonely. I saw young people and students, having their years and their last year at high school, their university experiences disrupted. So, look, it's been a really tough time for the country. I really all hope we get to summer. I hope everyone gets to refresh, recharge, spend time with the ones they love, and come out into the new year hoping for a better 2022.
Yeah, well, we sure do hope, don't we? Chris, thank you very much. Oh, just before you go, you did make a promise to us last time you were here. You said you would bring your cowboy hat and wear it on TV.
And I have it, but it's in Auckland and I'm in Wellington. So I am going to wear that hat one day, Ryan, and I'm going to man of my word. And as I said to you, we will make country music cool when we're in government.
Chris,
but maybe if you get that man bun back, I'll get the hat on.
I'm not getting the man bun back. Chris, the thing that worries me is this is the first promise you made as leader of the National Party, and already you failed to deliver.
Don't you worry, I'm going to deliver. It's coming.
All right. So's Christmas. We'll see you next year, Chris. Merry Christmas to you and to your family. I hope you have a great summer.
Thanks, Ryan. Same to you.
That's Christopher Luxon, who's the leader of the opposition. It's just gone 19 minutes after 7.